New signs the job market is still struggling. Now, new calls from the White House pushing to keep the money flowing. President Obama proposing $1 billion for science and math teachers. This on top of the $2.7 trillion the government has already spent so far this year. So will more stimulus stimulate the economy or sink the job market even more? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears, and here they are. The Bulls and Bears this week. We've got Gary B. Smith, Tobin Smith, Jonas Max Ferris, along with Larry Glazer and Margie Omero. Thank you and welcome to everybody. Larry, does the economy need more stimulus to get jobs back?
Brenda, when will we learn our lesson that despite countless efforts for the government to stimulate the economy, we've seen little in the way of results? The landscape is literally littered with examples of failed government expenditures, and it's sinking us further and further into debt. Look, we have Solyndra, that's $500 million that could have been spent on education in this country and math and science initiatives. We have Ammonex, we have Beacon Power, we have Evergreen Solar here in Massachusetts. This is wasteful spending. This is not solving the problem. Even the best venture capital in this country know that they have a low success rate. These expenditures were doomed from the start.
Well, Margie, it hasn't just been spending on green initiatives so far. There's been much spending on quote-unquote stimulating the economy, infrastructure, jobs. Has it been successful, and will this one be?
Well, first of all, there's been 28 straight months of private sector job growth, and where you've seen job shrinkage is in the public sector. And there was a really great study that compared states that increased their investment in the public sector versus states that decreased their investment, that scaled back their funding there. And the states that increased funding had lower unemployment rates, had more jobs, better economies. They were rebounding more quickly than the states that held back. That's a study of here, right now, what's going on in states around the country. And so if we apply that nationwide, to say that by not investing in science and education, we're somehow going to create jobs really doesn't make sense. And I'll add another point is that polls show that people actually support this kind of measure. There were polls recently that showed a majority would prefer that we invest in science and education so we could stay competitive.
Well, but at a cost, right, Gary V?
Well, exactly. I mean, arguing against investing in math and science is like arguing against apple pie, but I'm going to do it with a few facts. Since 1970, a public sector public education workforce has increased 100%. In that same time, since 1970, student enrollment has increased 8.5%. So the teachers are outnumbering the students 11-fold in that same time, which would all be good. We'd all love that if we had the smartest, brightest kids on the planet. But test score after test score, result after result says since 1970, our test scores have stagnated. Graduation rates have stagnated. So all this great money that Margie's talking about investing in science and education has gotten us zero.
Well, Jonas, is this all that important, though, compared to, say, tax cuts? I mean, this kind of spending when you're looking at the overall deficit of trillion.
No, I think we're forgetting what caused the bigger gaps this year. That were also from Obama by and large, but we're not. These little, solar, they're wasting money. There's no question about it. But all of them combined don't add up to just the payroll tax cut. That's $97 billion or $93 billion that we don't have the dough for. That's just deficit spending. It's more than all these little pet projects that get through and the ones that are proposed combined. It's going to have to be closed at some point. I will say, at this point, the government's borrowing at such a low rate that we have a little wiggle room compared to, say, Greece or Italy right now to run these deficits. But we have to have a plan to close them over the next, say, 5 years, not overnight like what's planned right now. But we can't do it forever. But it is a stimulus program. It's largely from tax cuts and increased spending, and it's got to be closed on both sides, not just getting rid of a few solar loans.
Well, Toby, is this sinking us deeper in debt? I mean, how successful has stimulus been so far in creating jobs?
Well, I may not be a smart man, but here's the math. If we're borrowing $4.5 billion a day, and then we're funding things like, and I quote, I have to read this one, University of New York received $389,000 to pay 100 residents of Buffalo to find out how much malt liquor they drink. It sounds,
you knew that answer, though, right,
It sounds insane, but multiply that by 100, then 1,000. If stimulus really was stimulating, it would have worked. It clearly didn't work, and the main reason it it didn't work is that for every good dollar that perhaps went to something that was worthwhile, we spent literally $8 or $9 that we borrowed that did nothing and went to these frivolous things. Well, so with the government's involved, unfortunately, we're going to get a lot more of the frivolous things.
Go ahead, Gary.
Brenda, I want to go directly to the question you just asked. Has stimulus gotten us anywhere? We have so far, since stimulus went into effect about February 2009, spent almost $750 billion of the money. Back in February 2009, the unemployment rate was 8.2%. Right now, it's 8.2%. So if we didn't spend all that money, we'd have gotten at minimum the same spot. So that's almost $1 trillion that we wasted, and as Toby alludes to, put us further into debt.
Margie, what do you say to that?
Well, I say a couple things. First of all, is the failed policies that got us in this mess in the first place. And to say that, 28 straight months of private sector job growth is somehow a sign that we need to go back to the policies of 2007, 2008.
That's not what he said,
2008.
No,
I'm just saying that
that's
the stimulus is wasted.
4
No,
years.
I'm sorry. There are folks who are saying, well, clearly what we've done is not working. What we're doing is trying to reverse what was happening before. And I just want to go back to the comment. People are talking about this new company that came out, the energy loan. Now, that firm got more money under the Bush administration than the Obama administration.
Yes.
So I don't think we should tie that into any
they got about the same amount. No, that's very true. We're not talking so much about Obama versus Bush at this point. We're just talking about spending and stimulating the job market.
Well, and it's a euphemism of investment. Remember, stuff that when we went out and we put $370 billion to keep firemen and teachers on a payroll, well, let's call that what that was. That was a bailout of the state. That wasn't an investment. We've just misconstrued the whole concept. The really thing we're talking about is we just aren't getting a bang for the buck, and that's clear.
I think you guys are underestimating how even wasteful spending can help in a recession. I mean, I'm not saying the government should play venture capitalists. I think it's a bad idea. But the economy doesn't know whether a venture capitalist makes a bad loan in Webvan or Pets.com or the government throws away $500 million in a solar company. Those companies are still hiring people in the short run and buying computers and
but that's private money, though, Jonas.
I'm not saying morally it's right. I'm just saying from a GDP and an employment point of view, in the short run, it doesn't matter.
Let's break every window in the country.
Then, Jonas,
that will make
why
us
don't we
great.
just have a helicopter drop the money all over the country? By your definition, hey, money is money.
When you borrow money from the Chinese and give a payroll tax cut you can't afford, isn't that dropping money in everybody's doorstep from a helicopter, essentially?
Everybody's in favor of efficiencies, but I think we should invest in public education. I don't even, how can we argue
talked
against
about
that?
the public education
guys,
stuff. That's a loser.
I am so sorry. We got to go. This is fun. All right.